My first community college related video, how to successfully transfer from a community college to a top 25 university. I give you guys my brief background of what kind of student I was. In this video, I'm gonna tell you guys a much more detailed, a more in-depth evaluation, I guess, if that's how you want to say it, of, what kind of student I was, where I grew up, like what kind of community, was it an academic community, etc. So I'll just give you guys a more detailed explanation of what kind of student I was. So I'd say that in high school I was a pretty average student, and by average I'd say, like, in terms of grades, I'd say like a B to B minus, depending on what kind of classes it was. For the sciences and math, I was pretty bad. By bad, I don't mean like I was getting S or D's, but on the tests I would probably get C's if I studied. If I got a B, I'd be very pleased. Getting an A on a science or math test was very rare for me. This is assuming that I studied, which I did. I just didn't go to tests and just wing it. I did that my senior year after getting only accepted to community college, but I studied for all my tests, all the tests that I have. Although I didn't like studying, although who likes studying, to be honest? Although I didn't like to do it, I didn't want to get an F. I didn't want to fail. That'd be embarrassing, and more importantly, that would not be good for my my college application process. And when I was in high school, I say like freshman, sophomore year, a lot of my friends were talking about college, like, oh dude, did you take the SAT or the practice SAT? Did you take the practice PSAT? Did you take the practice SAT 2 subject test? Like, they were talking about this kind of stuff in freshman, sophomore year, and I only knew what the names were. I knew what the SAT was, but I didn't know what was in the SAT. I actually took my first SAT practice exam, I'd say like junior year. I didn't love academics, but at the same time, I put in the work where I had to, but that doesn't mean that the results were good. Just because I studied doesn't mean that I got an A. So looking back, my biggest problem in high school was that, I had the motivation and the ambition to study and want to do well on the tests, but what I realize now is that I never understood how to properly study for tests. My freshman, sophomore year in high school, I didn't even know how I studied. I think I literally just read the book and just took a couple notes. That's what I thought studying was. I thought that if I sat down, studied for 5-6 hours, that would be a good study session. That's what I thought. Whereas some of my friends, they would sit down and, they would tell me like, dude, I only studied for like an hour. And then they would get A's on the test, and I just didn't understand why that would happen. And now I realize it's because, just because you put 6 hours of work doesn't mean that those 6 hours are productive. You know what I mean? If you can sit down for 1 hour and, focus 100% on the subject that you're studying, that's much more effective than, sitting down and, oh dude, I studied for 6 hours. Well, did you study properly? Did you study well? That's the more important concept that you have to understand. I didn't really know how to study. I didn't know where I wanted to go. I didn't know the major that I wanted to go to. Some of my friends, they knew like, oh dude, I'm gonna be a doctor, or dude, I'm gonna be an engineer. For me, I had no idea. I knew that, science, math, doctor, that kind of stuff was out of the equation because I just had no interest in that. I always knew that I was pretty business oriented, business minded, but I didn't know what in business that I wanted to do. It's so broad, you know what I mean? Just because, oh, I want to study business. Dude, what kind of business? Like, there's people who say that, but they don't even know what they're talking about. And it makes sense because it's such a broad field. So I had no idea. And I feel like because of this lack of direction and lack of having a specific goal set up, I just, went through high school just not knowing anything, not having structure. And then once I had to submit my college application, since I didn't know what I was doing, my resume was not good. And by resume, I don't mean a job resume. I mean, my extracurriculars, the classes that I took, etc., etc. It just wasn't tailored toward anything. So I think that's one big reason why I didn't get accepted into any colleges from high school. So once I finally decided that I was going to community college, I mean, I had no other options to be honest with you. But once I knew for sure that I was going to go to community college, I thought about it very realistically. I knew that, I mean, it sucked, you know. I was like, fuck, like I don't want to go to community college, but there was no other choice. So I had to make sure that I had to make my plans. I had to set my goals in a realistic fashion so that every day I'd know why I'm waking up and going to community college. I think the worst thing to do is doing something when you're not even sure why you're doing it. So for example, the worst thing is going to work. Let's say for your career. You guys are going to college or attending to community college or 4 years, so you guys aren't even worrying about jobs. But in my opinion, I know people older than me who are in careers and they tell me like, dude, like I hate this job. Like I don't even know why I'm going to work. Like I don't know why I'm waking up. And I think that's one of the most unfortunate things, in my opinion, to experience. You know, the relationship that I want to show is that the worst thing possible is for you to wake up every day to go to community college and not knowing why. You know, why am I waking up? You gotta have a goal. You gotta have a purpose and a reason on why you're doing certain tasks. So for me, the reason why I woke up every morning, early morning, and I'm not a morning person at all, and I'm still not. I wake up at 6 in the morning just to go to class at 8. The reason why I was able to do this consistently for 2 years straight was because my goal was to transfer to USC. I set all my classes, I set all my professors, I knew all the classes that were gonna transfer, all the articulation stuff. So I had a plan set out, and that's why I was able to be motivated and be consistent for those 2 years. So you gotta have a purpose and a reason on why you're going to community college, why you want to transfer. You know, without having a good mindset, a strong mentality, I don't think that it's possible to do anything great. You gotta set your fundamentals, you gotta set your foundation. You know, whether you're a musician, an athlete, whatever. When you first started out, you know, let's say for basketball, your coach would have probably always stressed. I mean, if it was a good coach, he'd probably say, dude, learn your fundamentals in basketball. Learn how to dribble. Learn how to dribble with your left hand. Learn how to dribble with your right hand. Learn how to do a layup with your left hand. Learn how to drive left, right. You know, be well-rounded. And the reason why the coach is telling you to do this from an early age is because without the fundamentals that you set, you know, you can't be shooting threes like Steph Curry. It's impossible. You got to know the basics. You got to know the fundamentals in order for you to become great. And it's the same concept with community college and with life in general. So set your mentality, know why you're doing this, know the purpose of why you want to go to community college and why you want to transfer to a top 25 college in America.